Tight, 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 tight.
Alrighty, welcome to Photography and Friends live. Pew, 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 pew. Hey everyone, Phil, Will,
Sam.
and
Will.
Sam are here, and happy October. We're so excited to be here live this month to answer any of your questions, to also reveal the winners of our macro and close-up photography contest, and just to be with you. It's been a little while since we've chatted live, so
Too long.
yeah, just Will, Sam, how's it going? We'll wait here until people show up, I guess. Let us know in the comments if you're here.
Sam, how are you doing? Where are you?
I'm doing well. I'm at my neighborhood co-working space. Temescal Works. Um, I've been home for like this whole month, and it's been really nice to work on projects at home, be a bit more in a routine, not be traveling as much. And yeah, all good things. All good things. How you doing, Will?
I'm good. I just got home, and I'm excited about just being home for the next 2 weeks at least. I have a lot of work to catch up on, tons of editing. I was in a wedding last Saturday, and I have a bunch of photos to post. I shot a bunch of 35 millimeter film on a little tiny half frame camera, and I shot so many photos that I have to get them all developed and stuff. Starting to get a little bit more back into film. Gotta say, I miss
Yeah.
it.
Nice, nice. Wait, was that at the wedding or just while you were traveling?
It was at the wedding.
Nice.
I just like took it along because I was a groomsman and it fit really nice in my jacket tux pocket, so I was able to just like take it out and take pictures like when I needed to and put it back.
Nice.
It has a little flash. It's kind of basically a disposable camera that you can reload 35 mil, but it only does half frame, which is pretty cool. I'm into it.
Anyone that's listening right in, let us know where you're tuning in from, and let us know if this is the first time you've been here or not. A lot of you are probably new to the Facebook group in the past month or two. We passed 95,000 members, I think. We're almost at 100K. We're going to have a big party or something.
Yeah.
But we are so excited to have you here, and this is what we do. We hope the community has been a good place for you to ask questions, post your photos, all that kind of good stuff. Welcome. We've got people from Oakland, from Toronto, Syracuse. Okay, we got the Americas showing up. Oh, Denmark, what's up? You're up in the house.
What's up?
Oh, Denmark. I love Denmark.
But yeah, we're gonna get started shortly, but
Just giving people some time to get in. You know, Phil, I don't know if I've told you. I sold all my digital cameras.
I am so confused because you posted on Instagram that you're loving your new camera, and I'm like,
Oh yeah. Well, I bought one new one, but everything else.
What is happening?
Yeah.
Okay, wait,
There
I
was
don't
a-
get it. So explain what's
There's
happening.
days where Sam had no digital cameras.
I mean, it's kind of similar thing. I've been enjoying the film cameras again and like going around and doing those, and just like I take photos and I don't see them for a long time, and I'm just like one photo a day kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I just really wanted an amazing like street adventure camera. Jamie and I might be getting a van soon and doing that whole thing.
I know.
So it's like just like
Jamie
a
was
simple thing.
messaging me. I was giving my support.
Appreciate it. And so I went and bought a Leica Q2, and I traded in all my other gear and just got rid of it all. And you know, I have the Sony FX3 for video work and all that, and that can do 10 megapixel stills, so it can technically do that. But the Q2 is just going to be my like daily driver. I want to like push myself with portraiture with it, like you know, just like how much can you do with a fixed focal length lens? So yeah, I'll be sharing more about that.
Wait, so
journey.
you don't have a camera that can, like another camera that can have interchangeable lenses? That's
No,
crazy.
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh. Okay, well that's pretty cool. We'll see how long it takes for you to get another camera.
Yeah. He's gonna have a Sony soon.
But what's up, Kathy, Eddie? Kathy watching first time. That's awesome.
Thank you for
Zuleika,
being here.
catch it from Florida, first time. Woo!
Wow, we got
Ritik
people
from
all over the
India.
world.
We got
Yeah.
Calcutta in India. Awesome. Israel here. Katya, thank you for being here for the first time. Yeah, super excited. So we're going to be answering all your questions if you have questions coming up, but we have a little presentation we're going to run through with some of the winners of our contest coming up. So as I said, we're going to do the macro photography contest review winners, and then we have a private plus community. We'll talk a little bit about that, but we're going to be announcing our winners there. Every week we do a live session there, but today we decided to combine it with this one, and then Q&A. So to get right into it, we're going to do the macro photography contest winners. So there are cash prizes. Who here has submitted a photo to the macro photo contest? Let us know in the comments if you did submit a photo. And without further ado, we're just going to go through bronze, silver, and gold, and then a couple other of our favorites. As always, it's a difficult decision to come up with our top. But thank you. Kathy, thanks for posting. Denise, thank you. And Sam was asking what cameras y'all using. So post that below in the comments as well. So bronze, our bronze prize winner is Shannon Allen. And we have a solid trio of winners today that are different for other reasons, but one of the reasons we love Shannon's was because it was a close-up photo. It wasn't a macro, and that's what we wanted. We know not everyone has a macro lens, and so this really represented to us a great close-up portrait. Will, this was one of your favorites. You want to talk about it a little bit more?
Yeah, I think for me, like, yeah, macro close up, like you don't have to necessarily have a macro to get a close up portrait shot like this. I mean, look how close we are. It's not typical of a portrait to be this tight and this almost emotional. And my favorite part about this is like the foreground element is not really like foreground, but it's foreground to the subject coming over their eyes, you know, and I feel like that adds a lot of depth. It has a lot of emotion, the contrast in the lighting. I mean, the black and white, of course, I'm going to be interested in because I love it so much. But I just think that there's just so much emotion here. And I've always said with portraits, if you guys have ever taken my portrait class, you cannot get close enough when you're trying to create emotion like this. And this is such a good example of that. I mean, you can see the detail in their face. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
The
It's like,
focus
it's
is
just
awesome.
intimate. And I think it's great. There's like a tiny little eye light in the right eye. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I just love it. I think the contrast is great.
Cool. Sam, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of, I was just thinking of how you would achieve this kind of photo, and just, I mean, the fall off, the intimacy of it, it's just such a wonderful um, framing, but then also like the lighting does so much. It being in black and white, having sort of the light coming from one side, but you still have, you know, information on the shadow side. It's a really wonderfully, even the background, like one side having the light, one side having the dark. There's so many things going on here to make it a strong photo, I think.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that, you know, if you're into portraiture and doing this type of thing, it's easy to get sort of locked into, you know, the standard headshot look, and really getting up in someone's face and being that close and intimate with them is it's really cool. Yeah, it's a wonderful photo. I guess I was thinking about like if I would frame a shot like this, and I think the only thing for me is like the chin. I was like, I don't mind it looking at, but I'm like, my mind is always like, I don't know. I have such a hard time giving people haircuts when it comes to photos.
Yeah.
Like it's just, for me, just not how I see it. But like, it
just adds more.
within this frame. Yeah, no, exactly. I'm like, okay, maybe I should
get close.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Shannon, thank you for posting and congrats. I will be messaging you first through Facebook Messenger to send you your prize. And everyone here right now, hit that like button because that will help more people in the group see this and get here live with us. It looks like right now we have 20 people live. So thank you being here live with us. Wendy coming in hot with D750,
Clean, clean.
fourth live stream. Thank you for being here, and thanks for those likes. So, and if you like any of these our members' photos right now, smash that like button as well. So, moving
If you like cash
on
prizes,
to our silver prize. This one, incredible photo from Morten Hackinson. And here it is.
Boom.
What is
Man.
this shot? Sam, you describe how incredible this shot is.
so I was really like when I first saw it, I was like, okay, that's a wild photo. But then I read his description, and so
Posting
this
and
is an
congrats.
underwater.
I will be messaging. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
That was my audio from the video.
Sound check.
Oh. So this is a underwater photo, first of all, which is just getting things floating while you're floating is incredibly difficult. But this is a 2 centimeter big, large jellyfish. So this is a macro shot. I mean, this thing looks as if it's life size, big, but this is actually 2 centimeters big. And so to get the focus of this, I mean, he must have they must have a underwater flash system or something. But like, this is an incredibly difficult photo to get, and it's so crisp and detailed and colorful and just it's otherworldly. I mean, it's like a sun under the water. It's
The angle, like to get it perfectly. Is this from the bottom or from the top?
I think so.
From the bottom.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I think from
what
the
is
bottom.
up and down and underwater, right? It's like,
Or whatever the direction was, but yeah, just to get it, it's like so good. And this is one of those photos like you got to be pretty advanced and have the technology and tools to capture this photo, but really incredible. And the fact that Morten, you're one of our students and you're posting this photo is pretty inspiring. So
Yeah.
I would love to know their journey and how they got to this point. Like, were they complete noobs when they came into photography masterclass, or like, I don't know. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, cool. Well, congrats. And drum roll, please, for our gold prize winning photo for this month, Kyoko Blanchard with this really fun, I think, macro shot, combining two things that a lot of people posted photos of, but this incredible bug with a water droplet on its back, which to me, the bug itself looks like a character. It's like comical. And then to have this water droplet that is just like attached to the back, it's just like a really cool photo. And this is definitely one of my favorites. Just hanging on this blade of grass as well, going like perfectly straight across. So I thought this was great. Kyoko, great job. Look at that focus, like the depth of field, the background is just completely blurred out. And I know how hard it is to get sharp focus on macro shots. So to get this bug in focus like that, really, really cool photo. So smash that like button for Kyoko. And I'll be sharing, messaging you as well to send you your prize. So thank you everyone who submitted photos. As always, it's difficult to pick our top 3, so we want to give some shout outs to some of our other favorites, but everyone that posted your photos, really, really great job. Super inspiring to everyone out there. So some of our other favorites, Chris Palmer, this one's so good. It's like this bee that is like perfectly in focus. Again, I know how hard it is to capture bees in focus. The colors on here, seeing the pollen on the bee, just really, really solid. This was in all of our top 10 photos that we picked as well. Then we got a couple over here. Flower photos.
All these are like, there were so many incredible, both macro and close-up photos that were just so like, so much going on. Great colors, great edits, great composition, and like, we kind of got picked our top 3, but there were so many in our top 10 that were all just really incredible photos.
Yeah, I love the edit Ellen did on that photo on the right. Just really
Yeah.
great colors, and yeah, love that one. Kathy Laughlin, just solid capture of a butterfly. Oh, these are good. That one on the right
I
is
love
like
these.
crazy. It's like
I just have you guys ever taken photos like this? Because I feel like I've never actually gotten that close to these bugs and
these
been able
macro photos
to
are
knock
better
me
than
out.
any that I've ever taken,
Yeah,
I think.
like these are way better than any other macro photo I've ever taken ever.
Absolutely.
That one
Have
on the
you
right is like
seen?
metal. It's like this bug has like this little fly in its mouth. That one is crazy.
Have you seen? I think they just won the prize for like best animal photo or something of this year. I forget the competition, but it's circulating on Instagram. And this guy took these super macro images of ants,
Mm,
and it's basically the mandible and then like their little whisker things, but it looks like these buggy eyes.
yeah,
And it's so close; it's just the mouth of the ant, so you can't even see the eyes or anything. And it looks like a orc from Lord of the Rings
that's
Huh.
crazy.
because it's so up close, but it's just like these big old like jaw things and like this crazy eyes.
I've seen those one. I don't think I've seen that exact one, but I've seen those macro photos of like bugs, like faces straight on, like well lit, like properly lit, and it is crazy to see these bugs'
Like in the
faces.
studio,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's not out in nature. Like this, I feel like it's more difficult, but it's like these crazy, just super
yeah.
close. Yeah.
So great photos. Before we get to the single light source contest winners, which is part of our Plus community, I just want to say thank you and let us know what you want the next contest to be. We will probably announce the winner or announce the contest November 1st. So coming up. And you'll have all of November and the start of December to post your photos, and we'll be picking our winners for December. So if you haven't participated in a photo contest before, this will be a great chance to do that. And if you have specific, let us know. I forget if we have one picked out, but we'll base our next one on your feedback. So if you want portrait, some of the more general, like landscape portrait, that kind of thing, or if you want something more specific, like orange tones, or I don't know,
Cool
photos
tone.
using like what we do in our photography and friends plus community. We've got our single light source contest this month, so we're going to go through that. Usually this is done behind the scenes in our private live sessions that we do every week with the plus community. But since we are combining it this week, you'll kind of get a peek at what we do. Usually what we also do is we'll go through everyone who submits a photo, every single person, and we'll analyze that person's submission. They get to present it. The group is rather private, or like a small, intimate group, so we all have time to chat. It's on a Zoom call. And so if you're interested in that, I'm going to share info about how to join Plus. But this month, and we do a contest every single month, so another just source of inspiration to get out there. But this month it was single light source, so the challenge was to find either available light or to set up a light and take a photo with one light. And we're just going to get straight to the winner. We picked one winner this month, and you'll see an example of that, and that's Leo Monteroyo, who has posted this great photo, single light coming up from above, great portrait, and great colors as well. Any
Yeah,
other
it's so funny
thoughts?
because Leo also posted this in black and white and some others, but I just love the whole single light portrait because it really is just it defines like a shape on a face or whatever, and I think if you expose it correctly, it creates a mood. And I love the red balloon. It just such good color contrast with the rest of it, which is I think what makes it better than the black and white version.
Mm-hmm.
Even though normally I'm partial to the black and white, the
Yep.
red balloon for some reason to me just adds so much to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So, I'm just responding to people in the chat, but thank you for being here as always. So congrats, Leo. When you're a winner of our contest in the group, you get a special badge next to your name. street cred. You get featured on our social media as well. So if you're not a follower, head over to Instagram, follow Video School online, and you can see all of our winners and stuff like that. And as always, if you want more content, just a reminder, we have our website, photographyandfriends.com, has all kinds of blog posts, guides, podcasts that we do. So if you're a new student and you haven't head over to photographyandfriends.com in the past, check it out. And there you could find info about Photography and Friends Plus, our private community, which is a little bit more for people who need a little bit more hand holding, we have people in all walks of life though, like people who have started businesses and need help, people who are currently starting businesses. We have a lot of people who have literally just started and with the help of the group gone out there, got their first paying gig. So lots of great stuff there. You can see live sessions, exclusive interviews. You got access to all of our courses. During our live sessions, we'll do like private training. We do Q&A, lots more photo critiques. We do what's called the hot seat, where one of our members gets up, presents either like photos to be critiqued, their website, wherever they're at as a photographer, and we all help them answer questions, all that kind of stuff. It's a separate website with spaces to ask all your questions, all kinds of good stuff. And yeah, like I said, unlimited courses, all 125 of our courses now. And you could become a member today. So check it out at photographyandfriends.com/plus. As always, there's a money back guarantee, so you could try it out. Some people are members for a few months, get what they want out of it, leave. That's totally fine. Or if you want to pay for the year, you can do that, and you get the sweet hat that people are rocking around the world now. We got members. So check it out at photographyandfriends.com/plus if you are interested. And shout out to any of our Plus members who are watching this. Give us a chat in the comments as well. So let's get to Q&A time. So now is the time, if you have questions, to post any thoughts, questions. If you need help with anything photography related, let us know. Oh, that was a lot of talking, but I hope.
I know you're talking a lot. I'm trying to get Sam to go live with me later on my YouTube channel so we can talk about his new camera.
Ooh, yeah. Who watched Will's latest video on his channel? You should post a link to it.
I guess I could.
It was solid. So Sam, actually, Jean-Lucas in the house. What's up?
Gianluca.
While we wait for any questions, kind of talk about what that experience was like trying to capture wild horses. Like, not only like how did you find those to go capture, and then you had an epic lens. What was good about it? What were the struggles?
Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, Will just posted a YouTube video from a trip we did back a little bit ago in the Eastern Sierra area, sort of near Bridgeport, Bishop area in California. And we were out there actually on another job working with this ranch, Honeywell Ranch. And this guy who was working there is like, oh, like, you guys are taking pictures of horses. Like, have you ever gone out to see the Mustangs? And we had heard stories over the years. I mean, I'm sure Will's heard about them a lot more than I have. And we're like, oh, yeah, like, let's go find the Mustangs. So they gave us directions, and it's kind of, take 395 south, turn left on this road. You'll go for a ways. There's going to be a dirt road on your left. Go down that dirt road at the horse barn, turn right, continue down that. And it's just like very nondescript. So we set off at 4:30 and got out there. But the actual experience of shooting, we had spent the week on horses and taking photos of horses. And there's a video. But the 200 to 600 millimeter lens I was taking photos on a Sony A7 IV that I'd rented, it's such a different world, like thinking of photos or taking photos of things that are like a quarter mile away. Like, there's so much more space there to be had. Um, but to be honest, I wasn't in love with the A7 IV. It was a little slow for me, and it's
Mm-hmm.
also a rental, so I didn't have everything like perfectly configured. But um, being out in the middle of nowhere at sunrise taking photos of those horses was pretty cool. Um, so yeah, it was good. I mean, I was really happy with the photos we got. I really would love to have like have a super telephoto zoom lens, but they're all really expensive. And even at that, like without getting really expensive, there's a little softness at 600 millimeters.
Yeah.
Well, I was shooting at like f11 to like get everything in focus, but I think when you see really amazing super telephoto shots, like they're with these 400 millimeter f2.8 lenses or whatever. But
Yeah, I've noticed that with my Fuji 100 to 400. It's like, yeah, being at 400, it's not even practical because it is a little soft. So,
yeah, you can still get cool photos. It's just
yeah,
not that like that tier that I want it to be at.
yeah, yeah.
So it was a lot of fun though. It was kind of, I don't know, seeing the videos like, man, that was like a miserable morning, and like just waking up that early, and like then we went on and like had a full day, and we had been working that whole week, and it was exhausting. But I saw it, I was like, Will, let's go. Like we gotta go do another one.
We
He's
gotta do
like,
more of these. Yeah.
I want to go do another photo adventure. Come on, let's go.
I
We'll get
think it
there.
was your best YouTube video too, Will. So Will posted a
Oh,
link to
thank
it.
you so much.
He's almost at 300 subscribers. I think we could get him over that today,
Always
right
try to do
now,
that.
if some of y'all go over there and subscribe and check out that video after this. But we have one question from Gregory Christensen, who's asking about in Lightroom using the masking tool. Sometimes it seems like it also, any edits you're making also affects the light and color edits um, that more than just what's in the masked area. Oh man, that doesn't really make sense to me.
It
But
doesn't, but I would double check your feathering because sometimes that will affect the part that you don't necessarily want it to affect
yeah, I mean,
in
definitely
masking.
check, like turn on the overlay to see what
Yeah.
is being created. I mean, if you're doing like something specific, like a radial or something like that, like it shouldn't. So I guess the answer is it shouldn't be affecting other things. I mean, it also just might be like the way you perceive something when you change the colors of what's in the mask. Maybe it makes it look like what's out of the outside the mask, but it should not be changing the actual stuff that's not selected.
Yeah. I use the, what did you call it? The red, the like what you
The
can see as
overlay, yeah.
the overlay. Yeah, you can actually see what you're masking specifically because otherwise I have no idea. And like that's very helpful. Have you guys used the new Lightroom update? And have you seen the like that it will like it'll like separate people? Like you can
Oh,
see
I
like one
haven't.
person
I
from a
honestly,
different
I
person.
haven't, but I need to.
I haven't used it, but I saw someone sending me that it's working, and like I can't wait to try it on this wedding that I just photographed.
Yeah,
So Gregory says
I
usually
will say,
selecting just the subject or the sky. I mean,
Oh
again,
yeah,
it shouldn't. It shouldn't, but I'm not sure.
yeah. I mean, I will say there is something of like how you edit the image, and then you select the mask and you edit whatever you've masked, and then how that relates to the rest of it changes, and then like
Hmm.
how you sort of approach editing the background and the subject, to make it still look cohesive, because you can really easily make them feel very separate from one another. Um, but it shouldn't, if you like boost the contrast super high, it should only affect the masked area. Like it definitely
Hmm.
shouldn't be touching anything else. So is it like just what's around it, like the sort of like the fine edge, or is it like somewhere completely separate is getting um, altered?
Yeah. Well, respond to us, Gregory, if you have more info. But I'm gonna bring up another question. So this is a good one. So this is from Denise, and she's went on a to a Raptor conservancy with a
cool.
photography instructor who suggested putting the ISO at 3200 with a shutter speed of 1/2000th for birds in flight, but her photos were overexposed and lots of noise. So how would I balance that?
If that's the case, yeah, come down in ISO because you probably want to keep the 2000 shutter speed to capture the birds. But 3200 seems pretty high to be
Yeah.
shooting out in
In
like
the
broad daylight. Maybe
Would
not
you
broad
go
daylight,
on
but
like shutter priority and
yeah,
set your shutter speed to 1/2000th or whatever?
yeah.
Or
That is a
yeah.
very good example of when you would want to use shutter priority because the idea is to like freeze the subject, in which case you need like a higher shutter, and then let your camera do the rest of the thinking. I would imagine that your camera would probably pick something closer to like 800 or 400 as an ISO, maybe 1,000. I don't. I mean, I guess it depends. What camera was it? Did you say?
Not
Doesn't
sure.
say. Um,
Yeah, 3200 just seems
but
a little high.
yeah, well, and also if you're getting a ton of noise where the photos aren't usable at 3200, I just wouldn't shoot at 3200, like period.
Yeah.
That being said, you can typically, if you do auto ISO, you can set parameters. So when you go to shutter priority, and
Oh
you're
yeah,
saying only take photos at 1/2000th of a second, it's going to auto pick an f-stop, and then it'll also auto pick your ISO. But you tell it only take photos on auto ISO between 100 and 1600 if
Hmm.
1600 still looks good. But that way it'll go as high as it needs to, but not go over that.
Yeah.
Um, I will say with birds though, sometimes like if they're in a tree and there's like bright light behind them, that auto exposure, that aperture priority, it might be tricky to get the exposure right because when you're taking photos up into the sky, you typically have a lot of light backlighting things, and so it can be tricky to get correct exposures in those settings. But to blanket statements say like 3200 ISO, 1/2000 of a shutter, there's so many variables at play, and that just
yeah.
seems, I don't know.
Seems like
We have no idea. Like, was it direct sunlight? Were you in cloudy? Was it
Well, she
under a
said it was
tree?
cloudy, but yeah.
But still, it's
Um,
yeah.
uh,
Or even
yeah,
raining.
overcast. But and it was with the Canon T6, which is a great camera to be
Mm.
practicing with, but that ISO 3200 is pretty high for that. 1600 might be the max you want to go. I mean, you obviously learn 3200 is probably a bit too much for that camera, but hopefully that helps. And yeah, if you have follow-up
Knowing
questions.
your camera and what it's capable of is a very important thing. Like to know what ISO you can shoot at is huge.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Cool. All right, we got another question from Nancy asking, what settings do you recommend to shoot portraits in blue hour? Do you recommend using a flash? Flash
ooh,
is totally a stylistic thing. I think we
yeah,
always talk about like flash is definitely something you can have in your camera bag, and it's sometimes a great option for stylistic things, especially if you can put it off camera, get more not straight from your camera lighting. But in terms of general settings, you guys have other thoughts?
yeah. I mean, if it's portraits, I agree with Phil. I do not like using flash, and it is a total stylistic choice. You could use it during blue hour, but I think it would, if you're overpowering it, you're gonna like probably lose the idea of being at blue hour.
Yeah.
So settings wise, though, depending on your camera, Nancy, I can't remember what camera you're using. I want to say it's Fuji, but maybe it's Canon. I
And so,
would go aperture priority.
sorry. Good.
Yeah. And aperture priority, probably shoot closer to like a 2.8 or a 4 if there's more people. And then, like Sam said before with the ISO settings, like set your parameters and let your camera do the heavy lifting so you can focus on, uh, yeah.
Yeah. And as Sam
Comp-
said, just to clarify, there was the question, Sam, blue hours like before sunrise or after sunset. So
oh, right.
still where there's a lot of color in the sky. There is a decent amount of light as sunrise approaches right after sunset. But like the question is like, do you recommend using a flash? You might be in a situation where you don't have enough light to expose properly, I guess, or that well.
And I do think like dialing your flash in, you can use it where your flash doesn't look like a flash. There is a way where if you diffuse it enough and you reduce it enough so it's not a big blast, but like a subtle flash. You can sort of fill in and help your subject sort of match the exposure of the sky behind them. But I would also say one thing for me that I love doing at Blue Hour is use the where the sun was or is coming from. Like that's what's lighting your subject. And so what's behind them is probably going to be darker compared to, the light that's hitting them. I mean, depends where you are, but opposed to when there's direct sunlight. And I always say or we always say sort of backlight them with that golden hour light. I actually think blue hour light can be really lovely on the face. And if you sort of angle them so that they get a little contrast on their face, um, I prefer blue hour light to golden hour light. I think it's very, very soft and beautiful and lovely. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great questions, everyone. And thank you again, everyone, for being here live with us. I want to know, let's see, what do I want to know? I want to know what your favorite class of ours is. If you've taken multiple classes, or if you're only in one class, what class is it that you're in? And while we do that, we do have a question.
There's one from Greg a little bit ago.
Was it? Okay, I missed it. What was it?
The Nikon 35mm prime is one of the lenses I use on my D5600. I read a lot about the 50mm also being a good lens. Do I need both?
Ooh,
I just love talking about 35 and 50 because I've struggled with this question for a long time.
What are they? Where did he say what he's shooting mostly of? Portraits? There it is. I find as well lenses I use.
So, I mean, from my experience, so you're on the 5600, so you're on crop sensor. So the 50mm can be pretty tight for a general sort of walk around street photography lens. It's nice for portraits, I would say, but the 35mm is, well, like you said, you have it already, is going to be better for general use. I don't know. If I was buying another lens, if I had the 35, I might go for something even different, like something wider. It depends on what you're into. If you're interested in more like landscapes and stuff, I would go for something even wider, like something in the 10 to 20 range, or maybe play with something like the 80 or above for something where you can get macro, more close-up shots. I don't know. I mean, do you guys think the 35 and 50 is good to have?
I don't know as if it's necessary unless you're doing like a ton of portraits and maybe a ton of street stuff, because then you can kind of change your situation depending on what you're doing. I think if you're doing nature and you need to get like wildlife, you probably want something a lot longer. And if you're doing landscapes, unless you're Sam, you probably want something a lot wider. Yeah. So it just depends on like what you're shooting as far as like nature goes. But I don't know. They're both pretty similar focal lengths, but again, it's like just what you're shooting.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully that helps. If you have follow-ups, let us know. There was a good question about taking photos of kids and getting focus. Let's
from
see.
Devora. Any tips on getting sharp focus when taking portraits of children and babies? I've tried auto and manual focus, and I'm having a hard time getting the eyes and their noses. And they're using a Canon EOS 2000D with a 50mm or kit lens.
Yeah. I mean, talking about that 50mm, that's a pretty tight lens on that camera to get good photos. I can tell you my favorite lens for taking photos of my kids as they grew up was my 16mm lens, and that's on a crop sensor. And so that allowed me, because it's a wider lens, allowed me to still be up close with my kids. It had a very close, and this is my Fuji, so different lenses are going to be different, but it had a very close focus range. So I could get very close to my kids, my subjects, and still be in focus. And because it was a wider lens, generally it had a deeper depth of field as well. So on one hand, it's a lens issue. So having maybe your kit lens, generally, I don't know if you find your kit lens being a little bit better at it than the 50mm. In terms of tips, though, just with what your kids, or with the lenses you have, I mean, one is the focus issue. It sounds like it's more of a, it's not like a movement issue. It's like the depth of field, like getting the eyes and their noses. Or wait, what's the, it's, I've tried auto and manual and I'm having a hard time getting the eyes and not, oh, so
And
it's
no.
focusing on the nose, maybe not the eyes. So, I mean, a bigger or a smaller aperture, a higher f-stop could help. I don't know what you're shooting at. If that's the issue, I mean, you're balancing with your shutter speed. If you start to get I would close down your aperture as much as possible, just to see if it helps, and until your shutter speed starts to get too slow where you're getting motion blur from your kids moving around. But maybe like an f 5.6, f4 to f8. I know we always, I feel like photographers want to open up as wide as possible for that shallow depth of field, but maybe closing down a little bit will help.
Also, it's something to keep in mind too, is maybe just checking your firmware update, because there might be I'm not sure with that camera specifically, but sometimes they update them with, like you said, the eye tracking autofocus
Yeah.
specifically. So just make sure and that helps with autofocus sometimes too. So just double check that you're up to date on all that too.
Yeah, that's something I would have to look into with that camera. There might be like an eye focus, auto eye
I'm pretty sure
focus.
Canon put one out for the R series where it was like way better.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah, maybe just, I don't know if that goes down to what they said they're on the EOS.
2000D. I think that's the T7.
Oh yeah, so maybe not, but worth checking.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone here. Haroon Rashid is enjoying our photography and video production courses.
Sweet.
It sounds like you're a member on Video School, which is awesome. And Denise is enjoying our master class. And Haroon enjoying learning photography and videography. You're a musician, learning to make music videos. Sounds fun. Got your Fujifilm X-T200. Learning how to use autofocus. Cool. Thank you for being here. Were there any other questions that popped up? Oh, that's a great point. I got a chat that just popped in saying that we should participate in the contest so that students can see what we would do.
I'd be down. We need to do that more.
Yeah. I know we do. I know we do. If I had more time, I would. Devora Klinger enjoying the adventure photography class. Cool. That was one of my new ones. Awesome. Sue enjoying the master class. I just added the workshop that we did for the Photo and Friends Plus group about all of our post photography workflow stuff. So organization, what happens after we take photos, we grab our SD cards or whatever, and how do we get them onto our computer, organized, backed up, edited, organized in Lightroom, and then also sent to clients if you do that. So that's a really good one. That's in the masterclass on Udemy, but it's also in our membership on videoschool.com, which you get access to as a Photography with Friends Plus member. So yeah. And all the workshops, just to mention, all the workshops, live sessions, interviews, everything we do in Photography and Friends Plus is recorded. So if you join now, you get access to all of those recordings, which is awesome because now we have like over 20 recorded live sessions that you can check out and learn from.
My favorite thing about the Photography and Plus too is that during those live sessions, we actually get to interact with you face to face on Zoom.
Yeah.
And I feel like everyone that's in there has been getting a lot of like, not just from us, but from each other, like support in starting their photography journey or continuing it on. Like a better way.
Cool. So join. See us over there. So this is a question from Denise asking, I'm still getting dust in my sensor despite 2 cleanings. What camera would be the next step up from a Canon Rebel T6 that I could use my lenses and would not be a steep learning curve. Like the 60 5D.
60.
Probably
I mean,
16.
you'd want to keep a crop sensor probably to be able to keep using all the lenses.
Yeah, unless you have lenses that are the full frame lenses. But yeah, probably. But 60 is full frame, right?
Is it 60?
Yeah. So you could do the
Yeah, I mean,
70D.
it's 70D.
Yeah. But I don't know. At that point, you might want to
Yeah.
jump up to full frame, and you could probably get a pretty good deal on like a 5D.
Yeah,
At this
especially if
point.
you're staying DSLR and not mirrorless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which the DSLRs do get less dust spots and stuff than the mirrorless ones.
But this is a good question. Would
Oh boy.
you suggest at this point? I mean, I guess it depends on what your lens lineup is like, but like, would it be a good time to jump to mirrorless?
I
Yeah.
think mirrorless is where everything's moving. So if you can find DSLRs for better prices these days, but I think most of the technology and most of the updates are going to go to mirrorless.
Yeah.
So if I was going to go from like a DSLR crop sensor and do away with everything and step into something new,
Okay.
I'd probably jump into mirrorless. But if you want to keep using those lenses, I mean, even crop sensor lenses can still work on full frame cameras. You just shoot in crop mode, which is fine. You're just not utilizing the whole sensor.
Yeah.
Nancy says she went from a T6 to an R6 and used my lenses with an adapter, and she loves it.
That's awesome. I haven't
The
really
Canon
heard
adapter is
good
supposed to be
story.
great. The
Yeah.
Canon adapter
Yeah.
is supposed to be really, really great. So
And the R series is a really great. Those are great cameras. I've seen some amazing stuff coming out. I mean, they're all great at that level. I think they're extra great.
I have a piece of dust on my sensor that I haven't dealt with
Get it out.
in like a year. I'm like, oh,
Get it
that's still
out.
there. I'm about to post a video to my YouTube channel tomorrow, and I'm like, oh, all my shots still have that piece of dust on
I'm gonna say
it.
you're gonna have like a built-in preset that automatically like deletes it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with photo, it's easy to remove that, or sometimes I don't even see it. But on video, it's like,
Well, it's funny
clear.
because that type of stuff too is when you're shooting at 2.8 or a 2 or a 1.4 or whatever, you're never gonna see it. And the second you go up
Yeah.
to like a 4, a 5, 6, and 8, it's just in every single shot.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, you guys have any? So what's coming up? You guys shot part of the wedding photography update, and
did.
you're finishing that up, and we're gonna try to edit that in the next hopefully month or less and get that out. So if you're a part of the wedding photography course, that's gonna be updated, but we'll be doing a big relaunch of that course, which is gonna be awesome. I know we got a couple questions popping in, but anything else you guys are working on? We're working
Just
on.
more YouTubey things, more
Yeah.
reels, trying to show a little bit more behind the scenes. Sam and I
Yep.
both have subscriptions now on Instagram, which I'm gonna start getting into in the next like couple weeks with more like behind the scenes stuff and like
Yeah, I saw you post that or that change.
but that's all coming more. We're just I think me generally trying to be more active on social media with like photography education,
Yeah.
behind the scenes and what we're like filming and taking photos of.
Yeah.
We are active professionals, all the three of us doing stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like you might as well show that stuff.
Yeah,
I think it helps
totally.
people a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and this year, especially the past couple months, have honestly been crazy for me. So I'm moving houses. We're remodeling a house, and we're going to be moving in the next month. But once I'm settled in the new year, I don't know if people notice or if it's just me being me thinking about it. I'm like, I haven't been active as I used to be. But in the new year, I'll definitely be resetting and refocusing on a lot of stuff. But I think in general, a lot of our courses are definitely up to date. It would be great to continue to make some updates. If you're jumping here from our masterclass, we've aged a few years in this live stream, but it would be good next year to go through and do some updates to that class as well. And for anyone watching this, if you have suggestions for what we should do, post them in the comments here. I'll look through them and anything. But we got some new questions popping in, so let's see. What questions do we have? Debbie asked, I have a 70D. You are thinking the mirrorless would be the next best option for a new camera. Well, I mean, it just depends on what you want to do. The 70D is a great camera. You can take great photos with it. Are you itching to get a new camera? It also depends on budget. If you have a full set of lenses, maybe the converter would work if you jump to mirrorless, but you could also stick with DSLR. I mean, one of the interviews we did with Corey Tebow, music photographer, concert photographer, and portrait photographer, he has stuck with his DSLRs because they're robustly built. He has all the lenses he wants, and it's not like people 10 years ago weren't taking great photos. So you can take great photos with DSLR cameras. But I mean, to future-proof yourself for the next 10, 20 years, jumping to a mirrorless lineup of lenses and a system might be worth it. I don't know.
It's so hard to say because it does come down to how much money are you willing to spend? But there is a serious thing, I think, to be said of the 70D is a great camera. You can take great photos with that. And the only reason I would say you should change is that you're taking photos and you're unable to get the results that you're wanting to get. And that is something to take seriously. There are times where having, the full frame will make a difference, or where having a faster burst speed will make a difference. But there's also, and I am hugely impacted by this, but the constant want of something new, because it's simply that you have a camera you've had for a long time. But I love Corey for his, he takes incredible photos, and he was on the same Canon 5D for so long. And the only reason he switched to the Canon 1DX is because he found an amazing deal at an estate sale. So that's the only reason he switched. He had no need to. He had all the lenses he wants, and he takes great lenses. And he only shoots 24-70 and 70-200. He doesn't get into primes or buying a bunch of gear. He doesn't need to, and he gets great photos.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I you don't need to switch by any means. At the same time, the new Canon mirrorlesses are some of the best cameras being made right now. So if you want something new and shiny, and it will, give you more features. The R6 is a wonderful camera. The R series is a great camera.
This is a great, an important question though. Haroon asks about, can we utilize crop sensor lenses later when I upgrade from my XT200 to a more professional full frame camera? So this is the Fuji series. Fuji does not make a full frame camera, and so sticking with the Fuji, you wouldn't be able to do that with Fuji film. Sometimes if you're on Canon, for example, or Nikon or these other brands, you can use full frame lenses that you've purchased on your crop sensor camera that, if you upgrade to full frame camera, you can use. But with your XT200, you're buying lenses that are made strictly for crop sensor cameras, and Fuji doesn't have one, and I don't think they will ever make a full frame camera. They just put out the XH2 and the XH2S. That is their professional camera, but it's still crop sensor. But that's just Yeah, that's just
That's
Fuji.
the
They have
beauty
the
of
medium
Fuji.
format,
Yeah.
which is even bigger than full frame, but your lenses aren't going to work for that. So that is something to consider if you are using Fuji. Is like you're stuck to crop sensor. But that's not to be said that you can't do
Yeah, it's
professional work
fine.
with a crop sensor camera. But that's a great question. Were there any other questions? We got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, there's a tripod question.
Love me a good tripod
I
question.
yeah. Who asked that? Someone
What is
asked
it?
about tripod.
Denise asked
Uh,
about doing a photo editing
What
course
tripod would you
using.
recommend?
Oh, which
yeah,
okay,
from Denise.
just which
Um,
tripod?
Hmm.
I really love Will's Peak Design tripod. It is a bit pricey, but
It's a bit
it's so
pricey.
compact and travels so well. I also have a Manfrotto
There's a,
that I'm trying
there's a
to
tripod right
find.
behind Phil.
That's like a Frankenstein tripod. It's like a Manfrotto video head on a, gosh, I can't even remember what brand legs, but I have the Manfrotto. What is this one? Their like travel one. It's gosh,
I
what's
have
the
the
name?
190 Go, which is a great. I really like it. And then they also have the Be Free,
This is the Be
which
Free one. Yeah,
yeah, the Be Free is pretty popular as well.
We
it's
all have
carbon
different
fiber,
tripods.
super light. It's the legs are free. It's like it's a little bit. It's not like a typical tripod where like the legs just pop out, lock in place. All the legs are really, you can kind of put them however you want. So for like super heavy stuff and for video, it's not great, but for travel, it's great.
I love
Manfrotto is great.
Yeah, and I love my Peak Design carbon fiber one, but it is expensive, and I definitely spent a lot of money on it. Tripods are like the least sexy thing to buy. Like,
Yeah.
they're just not that shiny and fun. And like, what do they do? You put your camera on it. Like, it's important, like really important, but they can be expensive. I
Yeah.
love this Peak one mostly because like it is so lightweight, and I can toss it around and travel with it very easily. It has an underswing that you can use. I bought it, I think, right when the pandemic started, so like 2020 ish,
Mm-hmm.
and I use it every other week. Like I'm using it right now. It's this camera's on it. Like I use it for everything. So yeah, it's worth it, and it'll last forever. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and getting a good ball head, like it'll go a long way. And
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah, they the one reason I will say I got the 190 Go because it fits in my carry-on bags, so I can travel with it inside my suitcase, which is important to me. Um, and I just did a lot of research finding one that would fit within that. So
Yeah. One last. Oh, someone asked, what was the tripod you're using, Will? Peak Design?
the Peak Design, it's carbon fiber. They only make one tripod, so I
Yeah,
guess
Peak, Peak Peak Design.
yeah.
And then last question we'll cover today is how to minimize motion blur while using a prime lens. I mean, really, it's going to be the same for any lens, right? It's shutter speed that's the issue with when you're doing motion blur. If you have it too long shutter speed, things are moving, you're going to get a little bit of blur. So generally, what do we say? Like 1/100th, 1/60th, depending if it's not moving too fast. I mean, if something's moving though, if it's like cars going, people running, sports, you're going to have to crank up to what one. I mean, it really just depends.
depends how fast. Yeah,
Yeah, but the good thing about a prime lens, or well, not technically or necessarily, but you might have a wider aperture, so you can get a lot of light in there and speed up that shutter speed quite a bit. So I don't know if you can follow up on what we just said, but generally just making sure your shutter speed is fast enough.
Yeah.
Nancy Wood has the KNF. Yeah, KNF. That's actually what that tripod is. But I have a Manfrotto video head on there. But
I like that it's
KNF
just
makes some
looming in
good
the
stuff.
background. It's like sad you're not using it right now.
Yeah, it's like
I mean,
it just gets closer and closer.
Yeah.
I would say like to a certain extent, getting at least like aluminum or metal, like plastic tripods are gonna, most of those that I've ever used like fail eventually.
Yeah.
So it's worth investing a little bit in like at least an aluminum or carbon fiber one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Cool. Well, we are going to wrap it up. If you haven't done so, hit that like button or write a comment so more people see this video. We appreciate all of you so much, and thank you for being here live. If you're watching the replay, if you're interested in more courses of ours, the best place to go is probably videoschool.com. It has links to all the classes that we do. We have dozens of photography courses, photo editing courses, all that kind of stuff. And also, if you're interested and you need more help as a photographer, check out Photography and Friends Plus, which if you go to photographyandfriends.com, there's a button at the top for Plus. That's our private community for photographers like you that need a little bit of help. We do the weekly live sessions, private space. You can check it out for free. Or get a refund if you don't like it, but we would love to see more members there as well. Stay tuned for our next contest. We'll be announcing it in a week or so. And that's about it, guys. Anything else?
I guess we have to submit photos to the next one too.
I think we do.
Yeah.
We have
Try
to
and be more competitive.
make a vlog about it.
We're all going to get smoked by our students. It'll be great. Can't wait.
Smoked. Just
All
People say
right.
that still, right? That's a thing. No, it's
Yeah.
not a thing.
Much love, everyone. See you guys. Have a beautiful day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Sam and Will.
Bye. See ya.